Good morning to all the participants across the India. Department of Humanities and Sciences, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Laknepalli, Narsampet, Warangal, Telangana. We are proudly organizing national level 1 week confederated online faculty development program on orienting applications and conceptualized aspects of sciences and humanities. On first day, Professor N.V. Ramanarao Garu, a director NIT Warangal, delivered on a topic effective online teaching, online labs, and online research. Till now, 5,000 viewers watched on YouTube live stream. On day 2, by Dr. K. Shauribabu, Vigyan University, delivered on a topic photoluminescence biosensors for fast biomolecule detection, 3,000 viewers. And yesterday, by Dr. E. Lakshmi Narayan Garu, Srinidhi Institute of Technology and Science delivered a topic on advances in corrosion science applications in engineering. Till now, 3,200 viewers watched on YouTube. I'm very happy for all the participants, and I welcome all the participants across the India for day 4. Today is the day 4 for our FDP. Today, our resource person is Dr. Jaipal, working as a assistant professor of English, NIT Nagpur. Today, he will be delivered on a topic training the prospective technocrats to enhance English language productive skills. Before going to start the session, it's my duty, responsibility to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Jaipal Garu from NIT Nagpur. I request today's coordinator, Mr. D. Rayappa, to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Jaipal Garu. Over to Mr. D. Rayappa.
Sir, video. Video, sir, video. Good morning to one and all. This is Rayappa. This is Rayappa, Assistant Professor of English, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science in H&S Department. I warmly welcome all the dignitaries and head of all the participants for this FDP program. It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Jaipal sir as a resource person for the today's session. He is an academician and a man of letters. Dr. Jaipal, Professor of English, is worked at Visvesvaraya National Institute of Technology, Nagpur, since July 2016. He holds doctoral degree in ELT from MIT Warangal, MPhil in ELT from Central University of Hyderabad, MA English from Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad, PGCT and DTE from English and Foreign and Languages University, Hyderabad. Dr. Jaipal has organized 2 national conferences and published 4 research papers in reputed national and international journals. He participated and attended workshops and seminars. He also imparted GEON courses at IIT Guwahati, IIT Bhubaneswar, IIT Gandhinagar, IIT, NIT Trichy, NIT Warangal, University of Hyderabad, LTI Jaipur, LTI Tirupati, and LTI Hyderabad. Dr. Jaipal is working on testing and evaluation, teaching methods of language skills, LSW. Now, I cordially invite Dr. Jaipal sir to proceed the session, and over to Jaipal sir.
Good morning. Hello.
It is audible, Jaipal. Please continue.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Rayappa, for your kind words and introducing me for this today's session. I would like to thank, first of all, BITS management, BITS Narsampet, and Dr. Narayana, Head Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, BITS Narsampet, and for their initiative to organize such an academic event to coordinate and share among the academicians about this academic learning process. And I would like to specially mention my sincere thanks to Dr. Narayana, head of the department, for giving this valuable opportunity for me to be part of this academic event. So I also thank once again the management with Narsum Beach. And I also greet very warm good morning to all the participants who are attending this today's session on this today's title of this from my presentation is training the prospective technocrats to enhance English language productive skills. Okay, yeah. All of us being in the field of teaching English language in Indian context, so we know what are the possibilities, difficulties being in the field of teaching English language as a second language for most of them, but as a foreign language, another part of the learners. Okay, and there are few maybe learners as they are learning English as a third language also in our Indian context. So the level of learners that today we are going to discuss about is graduation, undergraduation, BTech level, engineering students. So for them especially, language is means of communication. Okay, communication. The first very term is communication. Communication happens among the human beings, among the animals, and hopefully every living creature. So, how a human communication is differs from the animal communication. So, communication among the human beings, okay, much better than the animals. So, we know that features of language or the characteristic features of language, okay, duality and arbitrariness, cultural transmission. So another two more characteristic features of a language. So that is how a human communication differs from the animal communication. So we humans can manipulate the language where animals cannot. So that is the primary difference between animal communication and human communication. Within among the human communication, we can have communication, linguistic communication, non-linguistic communication. So what is the difference primarily between linguistic and non-linguistic communication? So communication happens with speech sounds, especially without documented alphabet for that particular language. For example, in India, we have so many languages where they don't have particular alphabet, which means written script. For example, Lambadi, Goya. So there are so many hill station people who live in the forest away to the civilized society, and they have their own sound system, speech sound system to communicate among them. That is also possible to communicate among human beings. And there are certain languages so which they have written okay, alphabet, script, especially script. That is called linguistic communication. Within linguistic communication, maybe the language has its own written documents, written script, alphabet, but still there are people in our society, they don't know to read and write. They don't know, they don't recognize the letters of the alphabet. They maybe sometimes some people they are not even aware of that there is a written script, there is an alphabet, there is a written document for this official record of a language. Still they can communicate successfully. Still they can communicate successfully. For example, so many Indian languages like Telugu, Marathi, Kannada, Malayalam. So people who are illiterate, who cannot read and write, but they have the language. they are successfully communicating because it is all about speech sounds. So listening to the speech sounds right from the baby, from the mother's lap, a month's baby. Okay, gradually how they grow up. Okay, they keep listening to this speech sound. Okay, the baby at the mother's lap tries to link the sound produced and the action performed. Okay, basically, if we observe in our home our own babies, okay, the very first days of baby's birth, the very first thing to communicate the baby with her mother is sound, which is crying, maybe in form of. So whatever the baby needs to be fulfilled, her needs, the only sound she can make to get work done by her mother. So that is how speech sounds are very first thing in the field of communication. So that is called linguistic communication. Within that linguistic communication, so without this written script, which is called alphabet, it is also possible. And so why do we need this written? So as like T. Balasubramanian, the great Indian phonetician, says in his textbook, the English, the textbook of phonetics for Indian English learners. In that book, he mentions, okay, so in every language, in the history of every language, spoken language comes first than the written. Okay, before a baby joins, registers officially for the learning in a school, maybe play school, maybe nursery, maybe LKG, UKG. Before that, a certain pattern of speech sounds already registered in our memory, which are acquired, not learned. I hope everyone is aware of the difference between acquiring and learning. Okay, the baby acquired certain amount of speech sounds before she registers for formal learning in a school, right? So that is what. So already that could be for most of them or everybody. It is their mother tongue. Okay, already a certain amount of speech sounds have been registered in our memory. So that helps the baby to learn. But unfortunately or fortunately for English, for all of us in our Indian learners, it is we are we have got the chance to learn or listen to the speech sounds of English language much later, where already our mother tongue or the local language got their own establishment in our memory. Psychological point of view, I'm telling about. Psychologically, in the memory, they already got registered. Certain every language, every Indian language has its own different type system of sound patterns of that particular speech sounds of that particular language. For example, if we have Telugu language has its own particular set of speech sounds which are not exactly as it is with another language, for example, Hindi, for example, Marathi, whatever. So maybe there may be some 30 to 40% similarity between the sounds, but the entire sound system is completely different. So whereas for us, English language has been introduced much later, maybe in few days back, if it is Telugu medium, regional medium schools, like 10, 15 years back, it used to be started with after 5th class. So that's one of the reasons, okay, communicating in English, okay, and written communication comes much later. So why do we need the written communication? Why do we need the written communication? Written communication is important. So when we are an illiterate is able to communicate successfully, is offering his help, is offering his whatever the needy expecting from him through voice, through speech sounds, whatever they are communicating. Then what is the need of written communication to learn? Why do we need it? The reason for having the written documents, written communication skills is that, okay, the whatever the lifestyle whatever the lifestyle, whatever the living style of today's generation, we should record. We should record in a form of document, written document. For that reason, we need a written script. So that's what. So that is the reason. That is the way that written communication has come into the existence. So we record all the lifestyle. We record our taste. We record our lifestyle, we culture, beliefs, every aspect. All the aspects of human life has been recorded in a form of document to hand over the same thing to coming generations. Coming generations. Okay. So for that reason, we need written communication. So communication can happen in two different mediums. One is written medium. The first one is spoken medium. Communication can also happen without these two mediums with non-verbal language, which is postures and gestures has been used. Even human body movement, even facial expressions contributes something about, and it also conveys some kind of message to the listener or the opponent. Even if you are sad, verbally you did not express that, you did not tell that in a sentence using words, using sounds that I'm unhappy, but the facial expression conveys the meaning to the opponent that you are not happy. So that is also possible non-verbal communication with postures and gestures, facial expressions, moods. Maybe immediately in our day-to-day life, we observe that one friend comes to us, all of a sudden he says that, you are not in a mood to listen to me. I don't know. I did not tell anything to him. Just by looking at my face, the opponent could understand what is the mood I am in, and he has given the reply that you are not in a mood to listen to me, or you are not looking so happy today. What happened? Tell me. So that is what human communication is differs from the animal communication. It is so unique and it is so different. That is what. So communicating in English. Why do we need to learn the language of English? We are comfort with our mother tongue, maybe Telugu, Hindi, Marathi, whatever, or the local language, maybe Hindi. We are comfort, happy. We are able to survive. We are able to fulfill our needs. We are able to offer. We are able to receive everything, different aspects of the life, maybe business, commerce, education, employment. So we are serving. We are being served. Okay, everything is happy going on to. Why do we need to learn the English language today? We are living in a 21st century globalized world in this computerized era. So world has become a small village. The best example, today we are sitting all of us in different miles, in different distance of miles, but we are able to connect to each other, and we are communicating, we are sharing, okay, we are exchanging, we are learning from each other. Okay, this is what the globalized world today. This is what the computer era that we are living in today. Internet, okay, advanced technology, science, okay, had helped us to live so simple, so without any effort. Okay, that is. So for this, being engineers, being technologists, future, they are going to serve the world. They are not limiting themselves to geographical boundaries within a state, within a country. No. Now, a skilled engineer, a skilled employee, a skilled technologist can serve the world any part of the world he can serve. For that reason, today, language of English is playing the role of, okay, platform to connect entire world. No matter which country you are from, no matter which mother tongue you are belong to, no matter which culture you are, no matter what are your beliefs, but only the thing, the thread, connecting thread today's world is English language. So it is essential, important to learn and master the skills of English language. Being engineering graduates at this level, we expect, we believe, it is proved already that so they have enough command over English language. They have learned for some, okay, 8 to 10 years, maybe 10 plus years, they have learned English language, okay, and so especially where they face the problem is, so
Dear sir,
language
please
skills.
switch on
So
the
very
slideshow.
vast. Excuse me. Hello.
Uh, Please make it slideshow, sir, for a better presentation.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So language skills. Language skills. So language is a skill. Very first thing I would like to give the clarity is language. Majority of them, if I'm not wrong, majority of them assume that English is also like any other subject, physics, mathematics, chemistry. No, it is a skill to be acquired. It is not at all a subject to be learned. Everyone, being we as a teachers of English, language teachers, okay, we should make the learners aware of this. Language is a skill to be acquired. Okay, it is not the subject to learn. What is the difference between acquiring and learning? Acquiring, which means which comes without any effort, just like natural. Okay, for example, we are walking on a road. Okay, we listen to some sounds, maybe playing a song on a church, playing on a mass namaz on a masjid. Okay, so we don't pay attention. We don't pay attention, but we listen it. Okay, because we don't pay attention, so we don't learn it. Okay, we don't learn it. Even in our some birds sounds, maybe animal sounds. Okay, there are so many things which we don't know, which we don't pay attention particularly to learn that particular thing. Okay, that is called acquiring. Still we don't pay attention, but we listen something, and if it is 100%, at least 10% we remember out of it. That is the capacity or the advantage of human brain. No matter you paid attention or not, no matter you have put your own personal efforts or not, but it is, you have learned something out of it. That is called acquiring. Language also should be acquired, not learned. Unfortunately, English language should be learned through sound, speech sounds of that particular language. Okay, but unfortunately, in our country, we have been exposed to learn the English language through alphabet, through letters of that English alphabet, which is may not be right. I believe personally it is not right, but language should be, because very best example is, okay, we learn our mother tongue not through the letters, not through the alphabet of that language, but speech sound spoken in our home with our parents, siblings, family members. Unconsciously we have learned it. Okay, language should be learned. So especially language is a skill. So language, every language has these four skills. Okay, listening, reading, speaking, writing. Okay, listening, speaking, reading, writing. Order is LSRW. Okay, I have divided into two kinds, like receptive skills, productive skills. So I would like to make the clarity between what are the receptive skills, what are the productive skills. Receptive skills which we take inside to our own understanding by listening to the sound, by listening to the lecture, by listening to a song, by listening to a public speaker. So we are taking inside the message. So receptive, we are receiving by reading a text, by reading a newspaper, by reading an article, by reading a novel. So we are taking what is being said, what is being written there, and what it is for, how it is relevant to me, how can I connect myself to that author, what he wants to convey. So we are also by reading taking information to ourselves. So therefore, listening and reading are receptive skills. Productive skills means speaking and writing. So how these are productive skills? Productive skills are, okay, by speaking you are expressing your ideas, your opinion, okay, your feelings, your likes, your dislikes. You are trying to convey something for others, not for yourself. By writing also, you are trying to communicate. You are trying to communicate. You are trying to send it to somebody else, to the reader. Therefore, speaking and writing are the productive skills. Okay, this is the primary difference between receptive skills and productive skills. Now, today, my focus in this lecture is only on productive skills. So receptive skills, why my focus is only on two skills like speaking and writing as a productive? Because they are already at graduation level, so they have got enough exposure and they are taught very well how to listen and how to read. So they have read so many textbooks, not only English language, they are reading so many other textbooks. Okay, they are reading newspapers, they are reading magazines, they are reading so many other journals, everything. So they know, they have acquired enough knowledge how to gain the knowledge, from different sources. Maybe attending a lecture, attending a class, attending a seminar, attending a webinar, maybe reading a text, maybe reading a newspaper, Okay, they have learned how to acquire the knowledge from different sources. But the thing is that now when they are going out into the society with their degree, with their skilled certificate, as they are certified with the skilled engineers, they are going to serve the society. They are going to serve the society. Therefore, they need presentation skills. They need to their productive, whatever the gained knowledge through their degree, their academic, their textbooks, their subject, their labs, they need to present it effectively. They need to present it effectively to the group of people or individual, to the company, to the organization. Therefore, my focus, I stick today to only productive skills, speaking and writing. I don't say that they don't know about what is how to speak, how to write. No, they know very well. But communication varies between speaking to a father at home is different from speaking to a professor at college. Though the candidate, the learner, the student knows how to speak, but it has its own significance and it has its own difference. How to speak with the father at home, how to speak with the professor at college, how to speak with the principal in the college. Okay, therefore, I think learning about how to teach, how can we help? In other words, how can we help our learners, our students to master these two, speaking skills and writing skills, gets its own significance in this today's lecture. So first I would like to mention about spoken medium of communication. So our BTech learners, engineering students, they speak very well English, they know. But what is the difference, formal and informal? Different language, that in the first introduction itself, I have mentioned that, we manipulate the language where animals cannot do. So we manipulate the language system, speech sounds according to the context, according to the person, according to the situation that we manipulate. Okay, so how do you manipulate to be? So everybody speaks English. One is recognized to be fluent, one is recognized to be well pronounced, another one is recognized to be just like native speaker. So why this varies? So especially in spoken medium of communication, so our concentration should be on fluency, pronunciation, intonation. These are the three important elements in our spoken medium of communication. In that, so before we go into details about the pronunciation, fluency, intonation, so we need to learn about the basic thing is that how spoken communication is produced. So I have been mentioning for the last 15 minutes, speech sound. What do you mean by speech sound? Okay, an article, any object, any physical form it has, it may create some kind of sound. Even if you drop your pen on the floor, it gives some kind of sound. By that sound, the other opponent will get attention. Okay, in the same way, whatever we are speaking, speech sounds, it has its own meaning, it has its own significance, it has its own attention. So like that, in English language, there are 44 speech sounds. I'm repeating once again, speech sounds are different from the letters of alphabet. A, B, C, D are the letters of English alphabet. Okay, there are in addition or other than this, there are 44 speech sounds. Okay, 24 consonants, 20 vowel sounds. The 20 vowel sounds are considered into two kinds, classified into two kinds as, okay, 12 monophthongs, 8 diphthongs. So why this classification? How? Hope everyone knows. This is the primary thing, I think. Okay, based on the manner of articulation, okay, place of articulation, we decide whether they are vowels and consonants, whether they are vowels and diphthongs. If a learner or students who are trying to improve their spoken English, when they are trying to enhance their skill, when they are trying to master the spoken medium of communication, they should get awareness about why, how a pa sound should be produced, how a sha sound should be produced, how a va sound should be produced. If they have that kind of awareness, okay, so certainly they pay attention while they are producing. For example, so how many of us, before we become language teachers in our school days, in our college days, we know the difference between how to pronounce a letter W, a letter V. Yeah. So the letter W should be pronounced, okay, which is with our lip movement should be round. When we produce letter V, for example, there are so many words we can produce with the letter V. Van, for example, okay, with what, why, where, why, whom, whose, well, okay. If we don't know the difference between, we try to produce same both of them together, which means there is a need to learn about it. So if the learner who is enthusiastic to master the spoken English, okay, spoken medium of communication, in terms of pronunciation, in terms of fluency, in terms of rhythm, in terms of intonation, they should be given this kind of knowledge. Okay, so there are speech organs. Go to the next slide. Speech production, pronunciation, fluency, intonation. So these are the, in general, we have nasal cavity, so we have oral cavity, so we have lips, we have teeth, we have tongue, okay, different parts of the tongue, okay, uvulum, oral cavity, palatal. So all these have, biologically, they have their own function. For example, nose is for smelling, tongue is for tasting, teeth is for chewing. Biological, they have their own function. In addition to that, they also participate in language production. So the main important source for the speech sounds is airstream mechanism. The air which comes from the lungs to outer atmosphere through your mouth, okay, is the source for the speech sounds production. So the airflow which comes from the lungs to outer atmosphere is modified, is disturbed, okay, by all these speech organs. Maybe teeth, upper teeth, lower teeth, teeth reeds, upper lip, lower lip, okay, alveolar reeds, nasal cavity, oral cavity, uvulum, pharyngeal, vocal cords, okay. We have voiced sounds, we have voiceless sounds. All this knowledge about all these production of speech sounds of particular language will help certainly to the new learners to improve their spoken English, spoken medium of communication. So pronunciation improves if the sound, how it should be pronounced, if it is pronounced as it is, you sound better. It will be easy for you to reach the native speaker, which means a person who lives in British London. So standard British English is a model for all of us today's generation to learn. Okay, if you speak English, but a native speaker from London is unable to understand you what you mean, there is no meaning in your communication. So for that reason, so this is IPA, okay, International Phonetic Association has decided all these 44 sounds and has given this mechanism of, okay, speech sounds of English language. So we should be giving this kind of knowledge to the new learners. Hopefully they find it very interesting, and if they put their own efforts to practice the same, certainly they are going to improve their spoken English. Okay, this is all about. So what about this in So how this actually, what is this called? The airflow which comes from the lungs to outer atmosphere is called egressive pulmonic airstream mechanism. Pulmonic, which means, okay, air is throwing out. So whatever the speech sounds of English that we are producing, okay, air which is coming from the lungs is produced out. Therefore, it is called egressive. Ingressive means which we take air in to produce the sounds, but it will not happen in the English speech sound. We throw out the air. Therefore, it is aggressive pulmonic airstream mechanism. Pushing air outwards from the lungs, airstream is modified by the speech organs to have different sounds. 44, each and every sound is different from the others. So the difference, the variation is created with the involvement of these speech organs, which are lower lip, upper lip, teeth ridge, upper teeth ridge, lower teeth ridge, okay, tip of the tongue, front part of the tongue, back of the tongue, soft palate, hot palate, alveolar ridge, and velum, and nasal cavity, oral cavity. So all these take place to have the different speech sounds. So how do we get the, what do you mean by fluency actually? What do you mean by fluency? So all of us, everybody have seen so many after getting their complete education done, and when they are serving in the society, still they face this problem. Okay, so I am not fluent enough. What do you mean by fluent enough? Fluent means when you are aware of, hopefully when we are asked, what is your name? Even we don't take even a single second to reply. Why? What happened? So when you are asked your forefather, 4 generations past, his father's name, you struggle, you may take half an hour. So what is the difference then? Because you are regularly, okay, aware, you are regularly in contact with the information. You know what is your name, which is being used every day for some reason by somebody within a home, out of home, in your school, in your college, in your workplace. So the regular contact, okay, makes you to be aware of it when it is. So before this, also I would like to share the permanent memory and short-term memory. So whatever we have learned through textbooks, through lectures, through different forms in the nature, observing, walking, listening, talking, reading different texts, different forms, whatever we have learned, it should be registered in a permanent memory to be fluent. There is a link, there is a connection between your fluency and your long-term memory. Unless something, whatever you have learned, registered in your long-term memory, you cannot be fluent. Whatever registered in your short-term memory may not be stored for longer time. So it is forgotten within a short period. That is the main reason not to be fluent. Not to be fluent. If you want to be fluent in reading, keep reading loudly. Keep reading loudly. If I am not wrong, okay, all of you are aware of that, okay, already. When so something physical movement, physical body part of your, okay, body organs in your body, okay, are also habituated to perform with certain responses, with certain stimulations. Okay, in the same way, your mouth, speech organs also should be habituated to produce with certain kind of stimulation. For example, you have seen the beauty, natural beauty, beautiful scenery, and your mouth and your speech organs, if they are already habituated to produce the word beautiful, when you see the beautiful scenery outside, or beautiful object, beautiful picture, beautiful bird, if your speech organs are habituated to respond towards that stimuli, what is the stimuli? The scenery, the beautiful scenery, image, object is the stimuli, and your speech organs are habituated to produce the word beautiful, because you have enough practice, you have enough exposure to it, and it is registered in your permanent memory. So that is the reason. Okay, planning and before you become fluent, we need to go through all these sections: planning and execution. So what to tell, how to tell, reading, analyzing, understanding. Before you give some sentence, before you give some statement, before you give some opinion, we should be ready with all the possible resources, whether I'm right or wrong. So what is the evidence there? When you produce the sentence to out, n number of people can question to you. How can you say this? What is the evidence? Okay, you should have enough evidence. So for that, all these things, reading, analyzing, understanding, therefore we should give our own statement, we should give our own opinion, selection and sequencing to be efficient, to be efficient, to be very clear, to be very precise. Okay, we should be selecting which word should I select, which word should select to communicate my intended meaning, what exactly I want to communicate with, and which is the right word to use. There are in English language and hopefully in every other language, we have so many synonyms. So many synonyms out of, even though they are synonyms, similar but not exact, we should understand, we should make our learners aware that, okay, synonyms are similar in meaning but not exact. Okay, 10 to 5 to 10% in maybe in the quality, maybe some aspect they are different, they are individual, they are unique. They're unique. So we should be aware. We should know which exact word I should use to communicate this my intended meaning. Okay, that comes under selection and sequencing. Sentence building speed. So if you are aware with, okay, normal sentence structure, subject, verb, object in English. Okay, what you want to communicate, whom you want to communicate, who is communicating. If you have this clarity, the sentence comes like this automatically. You no need to struggle to borrow one subject, borrow one verb, borrow one object. Okay, club them, add in between some helping verbs, add in between conjunctions, add in between articles according to the grammatical rules, and frame the sentence. Okay, if you are regular habituated, okay, it comes with a span of seconds. Okay, loud reading is always going to be helpful. So we should guide our young learners, our students, to keep at least 10 to 15 minutes every day in out of 24 hours, out of their busy schedule, whatever the busy they are, whatever the important work they have, they should spare at least minimum 15 minutes time a day to read some kind of text on their own interest, to read it loudly. Loud reading is really going to help a lot to improve their fluency. Not only reading fluency, it also indirectly helps in spoken fluency also. Okay, this is all about fluency. Okay, so when do you feel? So that is about cognitive fluency, preparation before you deliver the sentence. And this is utterance fluency. Utterance fluency means while delivering the sentence. So when your confidence plays a vital role, confidence, whatever you are saying, if you have done proper work in the before cognitive fluency, okay, referring to the different sources, evidence, all these things you have, then you got the confidence that whatever I'm going to tell is true. Whoever comes to me with a question, I can answer. That kind of confidence gives. If you have the confidence, fluency comes automatically. Retrieval speed. So what, unless something is recorded in your permanent memory, it is difficult to retrieve. It is difficult to retrieve. For example, if I ask you to, okay, your friend name when you are in 5th class, may not possible to retrieve, recollect. So recollecting, retrieving is also very, very important aspect, important element. Unless you keep regular repetition, it will not come into this. So as all of us know that active vocabulary, passive vocabulary. If something is not into the active vocabulary basket, it is difficult to retrieve. So when it is possible to retrieve in a very speed manner, unless you have regular contact with that, you have been using regularly that particular word, phrase, structure, sentence, adjective, whatever. If you keep using it regularly, then you feel so happy, comfort to retrieve that one. Okay. And to be interesting, when someone speaks, when someone gives a lecture, we feel so interested, so happy to listen, so curious. We pay unknowingly, unconsciously, we pay attention because the lecture is so interesting. Maybe because of his voice modulation, maybe because of his choice of verbs, maybe because of his choice of sentences. How better is connecting with the audience. You being a passive listener, if you feel left out, if you're not involved in that, you feel bored. You don't pay attention. Okay. If the speaker is involving directly or indirectly, connecting to you, referring to you, and you feel personally you are connected, you are involved, okay, automatically attention comes. Okay, pauses. That becomes your one of the advantages, and you are a better speaker. Repetition. Okay, so when you keep something important, when you feel some particular point idea to be reached the audience, give some stress on upon it, give stress upon it, and repeat it once again. Okay, so pronunciation once again, one should the main problem of the pronunciation most of us face is that, so the lack of knowledge between diphthongs and vowels, different consonants. Okay, these sounds we should be aware how our ka should be pronounced, our ga should be pronounced, our wa should be pronounced, our a, how, all the diphthong sounds, how it should be pronounced. That kind of knowledge we should give to our learners. If they are aware of it, if they keep practicing the same, certainly they are going to improve their pronunciation skills. And syllable, very important thing is, as phonemes, individual sounds are grouped into a smallest unit of speech is syllable. Syllable, all of us know that what is the structure of the syllable. Okay, a consonant and a vowel, preceding vowel, okay, following vowel, okay, and one vowel sound, consonant sound, okay, preceding consonant, following consonant. Okay, nuclear is a vowel sound, central will be a vowel sound. So there are 1 or 2, 3 consonant sounds before the vowel sound, 1 or 2, 3 maybe according to the syllable. So consonant. So there are certain syllabic consonants also. We have syllabic consonants. So where there is no syllable, okay, but the consonant, particular consonant m, n are the best examples of the syllabic consonants. So that we should have the aware of this. What is the stress? Stress is also very, very important. If the word is monosyllabic, there is no need to bother about the stress. If the word is, okay, multisyllabic, 2 syllables, 3 syllables, 4 syllables, okay, then we need to have the knowledge of stress. Which syllable of that polysyllabic word takes, okay, stress, importance. That is also important. Knowledge about stress, syllable, speech sounds is going to help to improve pronunciation. In addition to that, regular practice, unless something pronunciation of that particular word should be registered in your permanent memory, and you should keep using it frequently, then it will help you to retrieve on time. Okay, then intonation is also another beautiful thing to polish, enhance, okay, your speaking skills, maintaining the intonation. So rising tone, falling tone, basically we use as Indian English learners. Okay, falling tone and rising tone. For statements and assertive sentences, okay, we use falling tone and rising tone. For questions, okay, confirmation, okay, you are listening to me, are you? Okay, you are singing. So at the end, though it is not an interrogative sentence, we express in our tone that something we are expecting back. That is, okay, response, answer, acceptance. Yes, I am listening to you. Yes, I am singing. Okay, you are a student, aren't you? Yes, I am a student. When you say this, aren't you? question tag, or you're a student without using that interrogative sentence structure, modification your tone becomes assertive sentence may be received as an interrogative sentence, and you are expecting a response back. Okay, in this also intonation is also going to help you in your improving your spoken English, especially for these, okay, are engineering and technocrats who are going to serve. Okay, in that they are going to serve the society with team. Maybe an skilled engineer becomes team leader. He's leading, okay, 50 junior trainee engineers under his control. Okay, maybe he's leading head of the company. He's leading 500 employees. Okay, there are different sources, different occasions, different incidents to communicate among them, discuss among them different, okay, about the product, about the company growth, about the shares, about the marketings, okay, about the stock market changes. There are different issues, maybe different connection with the different departments, okay, other like pollution and like environment department, tax, income tax department. There are so many things with the government to communicate, to send files, to receive letters, to send letters. So in that process, they need, okay, good and effective communication skills. Maybe sometimes written, sometimes oral. So group discussion is very, very important activity for being these technocrats. Okay, group discussion. So what do we mean by why do we need this group discussion? So already you have done 4 years course or 5 years, 6 years course. You have got your, okay, excellent grade, degree, certificate, and you have proven you are skilled engineer. You are good in that field. But why the employer who is going to give you employment is expecting you to be part of this group discussion as a selection activity? Because not only the knowledge, always human beings with these humanities, we should realize, we should understand that gaining subject knowledge, being expert in the subject is only the 50% success. Unless you are communicating effectively to the group, effectively to the society, you are not 100% successful, skilled engineer or technology, whoever it is. So for that reason, it's okay. Human beings are dependent. Always we are in phase, always we are in group, not individual, never. Okay. So we need to work with the teams. We need to be obedient to our officials. We need to be polite, lovely to our juniors, and be friendly with your colleagues, team. For that reason, how you behave with, how you mingle with, how you coordinate, how you take work from others. For that reason, these are the skills that one should be learned. So appearance, positive outlook, body language, grooming, dressing, okay, active participation, subject knowledge is in this activity of group discussion. 90% weightage is given appearance, positive outlook, body language, grooming, dressing, active participation, or only 10 to 15% weightage is given in the process of selection. In that process, group discussion as an activity, subject knowledge is given only 10 to 15% weightage. So that is the main purpose, intention of expecting a prospective employee to participate in this group discussion. Okay, how polite you are, how polite you are communicating your ideas, how patient you are listening to others, how humbly you are receiving the good idea from the others. So how efficiently you are making others understand, making others being convinced, either be convinced or make others convinced. You convince others or be convinced yourself. That is the skill. Okay, that is the importance of the group discussion. Okay, presentation. So sometimes we are expected to give presentation to a small group of 10 people as a team within you to see the work progress of 1 week, maybe 50 or 5 500 employees on the occasion. So one is expected to give the presentation. Or when you being an executive representative of your organization, company, to a government office, maybe income tax department, maybe some other environment department. So you are representing your company, your organization, your industry, then you are expected to give the oral presentation. So in that also, all these grooming and dressing, okay, body movement, physical movements, okay, how you are audible. So your voice should be very clear. Whatever your intention, whatever you are, okay, delivering the sentence should reach the needy or should reach the listener. Unless there is no, if it is not reached, if his voice is not clear, if his voice is not audible, it is meaningless. The listener feels, okay, impatient, hesitated, okay, left over. It gives a kind of negative impression. Okay, when you are ready to give the presentation on the stage with the podium, be confident, be bold, be happy, believe that whatever you are going to present, whatever you are going to tell is true. That will help you to enhance your confidence level. When you are confident enough, okay, you stop, automatically stops. Your mouth goes dry when you don't have confidence. You start shivering when you don't have confidence. You start sweating because you have fear. Believe that all the audience who are the listening to your lecture are there to learn something from you. They're not there to humiliate you. Their job is not to insult you. They're expecting to learn something new from you. So give them. Don't get fear of the audience. So since we are human being, it is possible, it is expected we commit some errors. They are also human beings. They are a kind heart to forgive your here and there a small mistakes. They're kind enough to forgive your mistakes. Think about that. Be happy. Think all the audience are your friends. Be open. Share. So that will enhance your presentation skills. That brings a glory, beauty, interest to your presentation. And keep adding them, keep involving them, asking them questions, asking for their approval, expecting their own real life experiences. If something is to be added, receive from them. Be open to learn. So these are the things that we need to teach our technocrats to be a better presenter. Okay, so eye contact, involving, confidence, acceptance, acknowledgement. Before you conclude your lecture, before you conclude your presentation, it is must. Never you should forget that thanking the audience. Before you start your presentation, don't forget, never forget to greet the audience. Welcome them, connect them to your subject, involve them slowly, attract their attention to your presentation. Go on to deliver all your whatever you need to present. And before you conclude your presentation, never forget to thank. Acknowledgement has its own recognition. Okay, I remember, and I would like to quote here when I was a student and from EFL, English and Foreign Languages University, Dr. Paul Gunasekar is a senior retired professor and only the Indian professor representing in Oxford English Learners Advanced Dictionary Preparation Committee. And I witnessed he is thanking a housekeeping woman. Just she opened the door when he was entering into the interview board room, and she just helped him to open the door, and immediately he said, "Thank you." Acknowledgement is very, very important. That's how we should learn about it. Okay, this is all about presentation. Okay, debate. So we also are expected to participate in debates. So debates are the one issue or one idea can be looked at in different perspectives with different references. Okay, maybe everybody if say something is good, anybody says I like sugarcane. So I have my own judgment. I have my own evidence. If you say it is not good, you have your own evidence, your own experience. You have looked at in a different perspective. I have looked at in a different perspective. So debate is not quarreling each other or demoralizing each other or shouting at each other. No, it is not at all. Looking at a single idea, looking at some incident, okay, in a different perspective and receiving, okay, others' point of view. If you have better evidence, better information, explain it properly, clearly, make others be convinced. Okay, always debate should be contributing towards positive enhancement of that problem solving. Okay, that is the importance of debate. Okay, the ability to think in all the possible aspects an issue or resolution enhances critical thinking, thinking towards a particular topic, particular idea, particular statement, particular problem in a different aspect. That is the main aim objective of the debate. Okay, debate always should be win-win situation. In their point of view, in their experience, in their aspect, they are right. In your experience, in your point of view, with your evidence, you are right. But try to convince each other with proper evidence. So that should be the objective of the debate. Argument with evidence. Okay, presentation, eye contact, voice modulation, involvement, involve others. If you like some point from the jury member of a jury, okay, you appreciate that, you quote that, like X said this, I agree with you. That tells about your politeness. That tells about your good personality. That is a good skill of communication. Okay, so that is all about debate. So this is all about spoken medium. Now written writing. So in this writing skills we use comparatively less with the spoken medium of communication of every language. So in this written communication, so we use letters of alphabet, ABCD, words, phrases, sentences. Okay. So linguistic communications happens in spoken and written medium. Written medium of communication comes much later than the spoken, as T. Balasubramanian said, the great Indian phonetician. Physical symbol of these sounds, alphabet of the, again, these are letters called. So letters are called physical representation of a speech sound. Okay? All of us, we teachers know that we should make our learners realize that. So it is going to help their skills to be improved, written or spoken. Okay, yeah. So in this basic writing skills that we need to start with is writing a paragraph. So most of us know that what is paragraph, but we should make our learners, our students learn how to compose a paragraph. Paragraph should be, okay, discussed only one single idea at a time. Most probably or most of the time, first sentence of the paragraph consists of the topic sentence, and it is always whether in that topic sentence, whether you state your opinion, whether you state your argument, whether you state your, okay, judgment, that should be supported with evidence. So okay, that evidence sentences become supporting sentences, and then whatever therefore you give, like I like eating apple is a sentence, topic sentence, because XYZ reasons. Tell therefore, once again, I like apple. Okay, restating the topic sentence is called concluding sentences. Most of the time, if not all the time. Okay, restating the topic sentence becomes concluding sentence. So this is the basic structure of the paragraph. One single idea, topic sentence, supporting sentences, concluding sentence. Then what are the elements of a paragraph? What are the elements? This is internal structure. That is, okay, outer that physically we can see that. So these are the elements of paragraph. Okay, internal structure, in other words, unity, coherence, completeness. So whatever the topic sentence you stated, maybe it is your opinion, your judgment, your statement, okay, whatever your argument, that should be well connected with the evidence supporting sentences. Okay, there should be connectivity. Okay, there should be continuousness, continuous process. The idea is to be continued in topic sentence, supporting sentences till concluding. That is called unity. Maybe unity within the sentences, unity within the idea that you are discussing, unity within the events happened. Events happen, that should be maintained unity, and coherence. Okay, coherence. The link between sentence 1, sentence 2, maybe the all these connectivities, and therefore, moreover, however, as mentioned above, all this will help you to maintain this coherence. Maintain this coherence and completeness. When you read complete paragraph, okay, you should get the clear picture what the paragraph is all about. What is the single idea discussed here? And that idea is completed. Okay, that is the basic elements of a paragraph. This is how we should make our learners to realize, and we should encourage them to start writing. If they have, okay, they have like some beautiful nature, start write one paragraph. Okay, if they have good best friend, write one paragraph. So we can give one task to our learners that, okay, why XYZ person is your best friend? Write in a form of paragraph. Why do you like some kind of fruit? Write a paragraph. Why did you select this branch? Maybe civil engineering, mechanical engineering. Write one paragraph. Okay, this is how we should encourage them to keep practicing writing. Okay, writing skills. Types of text. Okay, so we have descriptive text, we have argumentative text, we have narrative, we have explanatory. Okay, so we should make them to read different kind of text, and although everything is written in English, everything is used with alphabet of English, but how different exists in terms of sentence structure. Which kind of structure is used to write descriptive text? Which kind of sentence structure is used to write argumentative, narratives? So we should give exposure to different kinds of text, and we should make sure that they have realized the difference and what kind of text they want to write up, and how the structure should be used in their own writing. Okay, so that we should and paraphrasing and summarizing, especially in part of writing skills, paraphrasing and summarizing. So paraphrasing, which means the central idea, intended meaning of the author should not be disturbed, it should be retained as it is, but same thing is repeated in different sentence structure with a different vocabulary. That is the meaning of paraphrasing. Not copying the text, not copying the vocabulary, not copying the sentence structure. Okay, so retaining the author's intended meaning, the original idea, original message is not disturbed, but restated, retold the same with different sentence structure, maybe different vocabulary. As we have mentioned before, that we have so many synonyms. Okay, which is opt, you can select. So words are not repeated. So different sentence structure. You might have used present tense, you can use some other tense. You might have used active voice, you can choose passive voice. Okay, you might have used assertive, you can select interrogative. Okay, different sentence structure you can use, but make sure that your skill, your ability, okay, reveals if you don't disturb the centralized message, intended meaning of the author. That is called paraphrasing. So we should give a kind of activity assignment exercises to our learners to practice this kind of paraphrasing skills. Okay, summarizing. What is the difference? In general, they may look similar, synonyms, but qualitatively there is a difference. Qualitatively, there is a difference between paraphrasing and summarizing. Summarizing is, okay, minimizing the length of the message, maybe length of the text, conveying same message but in a shorter form. That is called summarizing. So this is the qualitative difference between paraphrasing and summarizing. So we should make our learners, okay, be aware of it, and we should make they are practicing regularly, which really going to help them in their professional life after their graduation, when they go into the society to serve the company, serve the society. So technical writing, so which is different. Technical writing being they as a professional, maybe engineers, technologists in a different companies, organizations, industries. So they are expected to write some directions, some instructions, okay, explanations, okay, descriptions, manual guides, how a particular machine functions, how the machine can be assembled. So when you have sold particular machine to a customer, okay, and he has to take in a form of different parts of that machine and how that should be assembled. Maybe your junior employee is going to, a mechanic is going to assemble. So a manual guide should be written, how it should be assembled, how it should be used. The user guidelines. So you are expected. Instructions, how employee should be, okay, while working, okay, inside the industry, inside the organization, inside the laboratory, okay, directions, okay, all these kind of different. So everything is text, but there is only the difference is sentence structure, choice of vocabulary. Sentence structure, choice of vocabulary varies from text to text. Okay, that we need to give our students enough practice to do it. The next thing is entire all these now just I have tried to give a linguistic perspective. So all we have done is till now is linguistic perspective, but in general, as a teachers, as a trainers, okay, we should keep in our mind is that, okay, so everything a learner should be taken care about different fields: psychological, linguistic, social. Okay, when we are going to teach something, for example, writing skills, we should be aware of, okay, what kind of linguistic inputs in terms of sentence structure, vocabulary, grammar rules, all this linguistic part. So what kind of psychological perspective that we look into, okay, what is his age, what is his mood, what are the environment, what kind of internal motivation, what kind of external motivation he has. So how the classroom environment, how the college premises, okay, psychological point, whether he is repeating, whether he is doing enough practice, whether it is going into short-term memory, whether it is going into long-term memory. So these kind of personal observation, we should be aware, we should keep observing our learners from psychological point of view. Okay, that is going to give certainly better results. And social also we should take care about social aspect. What kind of family background he is from, what kind of community society he or she is living. So what kind of the locality that we have, what kind of environment that we have, everything counts. Okay, that also we should be careful about, and we should be giving accordingly. So as a teachers, we should take advantages, positives from the psychological point of view and social environmental point of view. Okay, if you as a teacher, as a trainer, if we can accommodate three: linguistic, psychological, and social, certainly students, our learners will get benefit out of it. They become better learners. Okay, this is all kind of creativity can be encouraged always. Whatever, since is a part of learning, especially language learning, everything is allowed. Let him crack a joke. let him comment, let him criticize. So whatever funny activities, maybe for the moment the learner might feeling for self-satisfaction of that moment. Yeah, I could give a comment to a teacher, but it is in English. It is meaningful. It is worth accepting. Yes, welcome their comments. They're cracking a joke. It is in English. It is into the context. The topic that we are discussing. It is opt in this context. Welcome. Encourage them. Okay. Test the taste of success. Okay. Let them taste the taste of success. So how if someone is successful in certain activity, certain performance, so how appreciation they receive from peers, from teachers, from family, from all others. When they are receiving appreciation, recognition for their small success, they feel extra energy, they gain, they feel self-motivated, they feel so happy. So give them, keep appreciating learners for small deeds, small successful things, appreciate them, encourage them. That is going to contribute for their concentration. This is really going to give, okay, good, positive motivation to the learner. So I don't know whether I am right or wrong to quote in this lecture one incident which I observed when Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Mohan Reddy, has conducted first collectors conference meeting. I was watching it live, and very first thing he requested all the collectors to have a warm smile on their faces when people come to them. When collector is going to meet the people in a village, in a community, okay, receive the people with a warm smile on their face. A Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, mentioned in his meeting with the collectors. Maybe it might be looking so small, very big thing, but it has its own significant contribution. Yes, it's true. I believe it. Yeah. So like that, encourage the individual style of learners. Every individual student is different from others. Encourage them. Okay. Group activities. If they are friends 2, 3, 4, encourage group activities. Okay. And constructive feedback. Better to give and highlight only the small, good, positive things they have done. Highlight them, appreciate them, and politely correct them. Okay. Yeah. Encouraging self-evaluation. So we should make our learners to be self-assessed. So keep their self-evaluating. How better I am than from last month to this month. What is the new thing that I have learned in this week, in this month, in terms of language skills? We should keep asking them to be self-assessed. Okay, self-assessment is contributing very much. So as time is, I'm sorry to take 20 minutes approximately extra, but I thank, and it's the time to stop here. Okay, I thank you everybody, and now the session is hand over to Mr. Rayappa.
Thank you, sir. You briefly explained the importance of communication skills for the technocrats. Sir, here there are some queries by the participants. Can you please clarify them?
Yes, please. Yes.
And Mr. Ravi Kumar from BITS College is asking a question. What are the innovative techniques that can help for the teaching communication skills for graduate students? Can I repeat, sir?
Yes, please.
What are the innovative techniques that can help for the teaching communication skills for graduate students?
Innovative, the term should be understood differently from different persons. Innovative technique for you is different from others. Innovative technique different from you to the students. So in my understanding, innovative technique, nothing, okay? What are the advancements that we are seeing today? Maybe smartphone, maybe social media,
How can we?
maybe different thinking perspective of the new generation. Okay, we should keep ourselves up to date. So what are the, in every period of time, maybe 1 year, 2 years, some particular thing has its own significance. For example, if I say for certain period of time before WhatsApp come into the existence, Facebook was the widely used social media. Okay, after that we have come this WhatsApp, widely used social media. So that is one example in that. So whatever you feel, you reach to your learners. The set of learners that you have in Narsampet BITS College are certainly different from the set of learners I have in VNIT Nagpur. And it also differs from teacher to teacher. And you as a teacher, as a being associated with that particular set of new learners, okay, what is their interest, what they are connecting easily, where they are finding their interest, okay, that there we come into the creative technique. So unless whatever we feel from the textbooks and we read from which was the creative technique used in London, Cambridge University, may not be applicable in our context, in our BITS, or in our Andhra Pradesh, in our Telangana. Certainly the learners are different. So as my opinion, something is we cannot say a teacher should be creative from class to class. Okay, what is today worked out may not be worked out tomorrow. Same set of learners. Okay, like that we should be keep observing, active with the learners for which they are connecting, where they are finding their interest. That can be bring into the classroom discussion. They feel happy to participate. They feel happy to learn. I hope I have answered.
Thank you, sir. Here there is a question by Dr. Sudhakar Rao. How can we make students to acquire productive skills of language through linguistics in a virtual language lab? Can I repeat, sir?
Yeah, virtual. Yes, please once again.
How can we make students to acquire productive skills of language through linguistics in a virtual language lab?
Yeah. So no matter it is a physical or virtual, okay, the task is task. So productive skills, maybe it is a spoken, maybe it is a written. If it is virtual laboratory, it is so advantage. It is so beautiful that, okay, ask them to speak something about their own interest, maybe about the beautiful bird, maybe about their beautiful pet, a friend. Ask them to record their voice, okay, being in a virtual laboratory, and compare the same sounds. Okay, for example, the word beautiful, how the person is pronounced, and how according to the standard British English dictionary, when we click on the dictionary, it gives how the word beautiful should be pronounced. So that is how they can improve. Okay, then as a teacher we should analyze both, and where is the difference between, okay, whether he is followed stress, whether he is following all the sounds as it is produced. Instead of wa, he might have produced wa. So that kind of consonant vowels. So that will help us to analyze, and therefore we can give the feedback to the learners. This is about spoken English. Pronunciation, okay, especially pronunciation and fluency. So they can listen to the some audio lectures, audio conversations in virtual laboratory, okay, from native speakers, and they keep listening to them and they repeat the same, and their voice is recorded with some device. Okay, then they have the comparison, and the student, the learner tries to improve where he needs to focus on. About writing skills also, he can write. Instead of writing on paper, he can write on a Word document and share with everybody. Okay, for it can be laboratory can be used for two productive skills, writing and speaking. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So you briefly explained the importance of a communication skills for the technocrats, and I hope so. And you briefly given a wonderful session as well as clarified all the doubts, and we are so glad to express our gratitude. Now over to Dr. Narayana sir.
Thank you very much, Jaipal sir, for your nice talk on your title is interesting actually. Training the prospective technocrats to enhance English language productive skills. Really, that when I saw that name, really I was very much motivated. Really, I don't know what is the productive skills. Today you explained productive skills is nothing but speaking and writing. As a mathematician, really I don't know what is productive skills. May I ask you one question before vote of thanks?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Technocrats and engineers. In the second slide you mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah, please. What is the difference between technocrats and engineers?
Technologists are different from the engineers. Engineers who work in the field like civil engineers, mechanical engineers. Okay. Technocrats who work with the technology, software engineers. Okay. They keep technology can be used by the engineers in the field. Okay. At the outside they may look like synonyms, but there is a qualitative difference. They coordinate each other. They work in a different perspective, different aspect. Okay. What is the advanced technology produced by the technocrats has been used by the engineers in their field. Yeah, this is what I look at the difference.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful talk today.
Yes.
Will you stop sharing your screen, sir? Would you please?
Yes, please.
Really, I'm very happy that today we have a eminent speaker, Dr. Jaipal from NIT Nagpur. He delivered today productive skills, respective skills, language production, language oral production mechanism, fluency, pronunciation, debates, group discussion. Really, I wonder when I just 20 slides, how you made the whole presentation wonderful. That is the greatness of English faculty, what I feel. Because just 20 slides, you took almost more than 1 hour. Actually, our session is limited to 1 hour, but limited slides, how you presented and you covered whatever the things as a English teacher required today. And you even the doubts raised by the participants also, you cleared wonderfully, sir. I thank Jaipal Garu for your nice talk on your productive, enhance English language productive skills. The title is really wonderful, sir. I'm very, on behalf of management and humanities and science, my personal thanks to you, sir. Before going to close the session, I request all the participants, already we have put that today's feedback form in the Google chat box. You please fill it. It will be active up to 1 o'clock today. We are going to close this session by vote of thanks. I request coordinator, Mr. Rayappa, you please take the session.
Thank you, sir. And it's my privilege to propose vote of thanks. I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Jaipal sir for his wonderful session. And he has explained briefly about the importance of communication skills for technocrats, the importance of speaking skills and speech sounds, how our organs habituated to produce sounds to interpret the things, and sentence building by synonyms to express the meaning in the communication part, and about the every teacher should inculcate all these things in engineering graduates, and speech and sounds, and as well as he explained the importance of interview skills and group discussion session and all. And I hope so. And this section and gave us an enhanced some skills as a teachers. We cope up certain skills to inculcate our students to impart. And my sincere thanks once again to sir for his wonderful session and clarified all the doubts of the participants. And I wholeheartedly thank the management, our beloved principal, Dr. V.S. Hariharan Garu, and convener of this FDP program, Dr. and V. Narayana Garu, and all the coordinators. And it gives me an immense pleasure to thank all heads of the departments and all the participants. Once again, I wholeheartedly thank each and everyone for this session, to be for this session, as well as for your participation. Thank you all. Over to Narayana sir.
Okay, thank you. Mic. Thank you, Rayappa sir, for your vote of thanks.
Thank you.
My sincere thanks to Jaipal Garu for your today you have been here and delivered a nice talk again. Before going to close the session, one more thing I want to inform to all the participants. Tomorrow we have the last day by Dr. H.P. Rani Madam. She is my guide in my PhD. Dr. H.P. Rani Ma'am, Associate Professor of Mathematics from NIT Warangal. She will be delivering on finite volume methods and its applications. Tomorrow is the last day, and I request all the participants, tomorrow feedback. After the feedback, immediately you will get your e-certificate, provided you should upload day 1 attendance, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. And some participants, they are raising that we forgot to take the screenshot. Don't worry, already we kept all the YouTube links in the Telegram group. Once again, you watch the YouTube and take a screenshot that you upload in the final feedback. Once the feedback form filled, immediately you will get the e-certificate. Thank you all. With this, we'll close the today's session. I thank all of you, and my sincere thanks to Jaipal sir for your nice talk. On behalf of management and college, we sincere thanks to you, sir. With this, we'll close today's session. Thank you.